See, Paul really believed that Jesus was the Lord of that local church. That those elders were under the lordship of Jesus, and Jesus was going to govern his church through those gifts. He didn't have anything else to worry about. He went on his way. That is a done deal. Elders have been set. Jesus is the authority here in this church. These elders are his representatives. They've been placed. We've prayed. We've laid hands on them. We've ordained them. That's a done deal. The apostles didn't come back into play until the local churches sought more counsel. We see that. That was the whole book of Corinthians, and I won't get into it right now, but the whole book of Corinthians was written to answer 7 questions that church wrote Paul earlier and said, we have 7 questions for you. Could you help us out? We've got some needs here in the church. And this whole epistle was written, and you can find, I'll show you all the 7 questions at some time, but you can see him answering all of those 7 questions. How to get the church back in order. No one was allowed in the Corinthian church to be led of the Lord to do anything different than what Paul said should be done. What do you mean? God's leading me. God spoke to me. If God's speaking to you, it's going to agree with what I already told you, Paul said. Amen? Now we heard that there were some that came out from among us that came and were preaching doctrines that are not sound. They've troubled you. Subverting your souls. That's a powerful statement. These are men that were being led by God. These were men that were obviously out itinerating, preaching, traveling, bringing the gospel. Subverting your souls, saying you must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. You can't preach what we don't accept here in Jerusalem. We set the doctrine. Isn't that what's being said here? Now, we saw very clearly how that doctrine was established, and we won't go back over that. It wasn't just James standing up and saying, here's what I believe. The apostles and the elders all came together. They considered this thing. They all put in the input, and in the end, James says, here's my sentence. And everybody said, amen. Yep, that's God. And every person left that room, and not one of those apostles, not one of those spirit-filled men, not one of those mystics that can hear from God said, I have a better idea. They all went out and spoke the exact same thing.